welcome Ryan Root. How you doing, Ryan?
I'm well. Thank you, doctor. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Guys, this is a super, super cool guy and a really cool episode because we are interviewing a man that is notoriously known as one of the largest, certainly most reputable, if you will, convicted felons selling steroids in the face of the history of America. In addition to, but he's paid his piper, he's paid his dues, he's a good man, because I've gotten to know this guy over time. And let me tell you this, he's also, in my opinion, the number one bro science in the world. All you bro science guys, you got to listen, put your thinking caps on today. This guy has a legitimate four-year degree in biochemistry. Okay. And equally as important as that, he's been in the streets with himself and with thousands and thousands and thousands of people that have been utilizing anabolic steroids. Okay, Ryan, number one, tell us about your personal history with steroids and androgens when you were a young guy.
Okay. First, I wanted to thank you, doctor, for everything you do to educate people and really make people understand. Well, I think what's most important is that you normalize the conversation of testosterone replacement therapy, which allows everybody to learn from each other. And I think that's really important. So again, thank you for what you do for everybody. Okay, so now into my personal history. So when I was younger, like 13, I used to get picked on for being so skinny. I started hitting the gym. I never looked back, but I still would not develop like my peers. It seems like my peers would have to put half the effort in to get better results than I would. So, and at this time I was also, again, underdeveloped. I was not respected, and I tend to get walked on pretty easily by people. Didn't have any confidence either. So, one day I decided, when I was 23 years old, I started a regimen of testosterone. I hyper responded. It was a miracle. I put on 30 pounds of muscle and 100 pounds on my bench in about 5 weeks. I just turned into
testosterone. Just test.
All right. So I did a very small amount. It was 250 milligrams of Sustanon per week and 10 milligrams of D-ball a day.
Old school.
Yeah. But it was it was still a moderate protocol, and I just hyper responded from it. So suddenly now everybody wants to befriend me. Everybody's respecting me. I have energy. I have confidence now. My life.
This is 23 years old.
23 years old.
How old are you now?
44. So now again, everybody wants to befriend me. I'm being respected. I would walk into a bar and the crowd would part in front of me. I would accidentally bump into somebody and they would turn to look to see who bumped into them, and they would see my impressive stature, and then they would just apologize to me. I worked as a plumber when I was in college. I hated the job. It was just my summer job. I hated it. I couldn't stand it. I worked there for several summers, and one day, for no better reason than suddenly I stood before my boss looking stout. He just gave me a raise.
I love that.
So I just lived two.
Get on steroids, guys. Get a raise. That could, for some guys, it does work that way.
Well, I mean, but it does show you like what this can do for
confidence right.
Yeah,
we're men.
It's right. It's confidence. It's there's so many different factors, and just the overall dramatic improvement in quality of life. I lived two completely different lives. One before testosterone and one after. And the world after testosterone was dramatically better than the world before. So I was in college for biochemistry at the time, and I said, why do I feel so good? Like, what is this? And I had to figure out exactly what was going on and why this was so amazing, and why this wasn't like more of a mainstream thing. So I just read, not only did I change some of my classes and begin tailoring my degree to the study of just hormones, but I also just read voraciously on my own, and I couldn't stop. And eventually I just really learned how to develop protocols to really help people. So people would see me, and the change that occurred to me, and then they would ask me to help them. the respect and admiration that came from helping people, from dramatically improving the quality of lives of others. That became a passion to me. I saw what I could do for other people. And over time, it became known in my small city that I lived in that if you want to look good and
where were you?
I was just it's near Binghamton, New York.
Upstate
just south
New York.
of Syracuse. You're a Syracuse.
Right. So upstate New York. Okay.
Upstate New York. Yep. So it became known that I was the guy to go to in the city. So eventually, I with a business mind, decided I had to monetize this. So, I just started I became very adept at organizing supply chains and getting low cost quality products and being able to sell them to other people. The passion began from the respect and admiration I got from people. So when I feel like I can have this ability to help other people, there's a huge dopaminergic response, right? So now I feel good from helping people, and that started to drive a passion to keep doing this. So it started off with wanting to help people, and so logically the next step was to monetize it. Yeah, so it's kind of like, you start rationalizing, well, I'm just helping some people. I really am, improving people's quality of life. But now,
hold on. Some people, I'm as the doc, I have to always jump in a little bit. I don't want to be rude, guys, but there is going to be an argument from a lot of people saying, sir, you're not fucking helping people, you're hurting people. Let's just, because again, you're giving androgens, you're not a doctor, and there is going to be side effects. There will be side effects, and so I want that to be known that, again, I'm not going to let that slide through, my judgment here. But let's keep going, sir.
Okay. Yeah. And I understand. So, what I'll always say is yes, if you abuse these compounds, then they certainly can be dangerous, and there's plenty of evidence of that. When not abused, I think of testosterone as more of a miracle drug, right? When used properly. So, and I understand that there is.
You're not a doctor. You're not a doctor. Again, I don't want to be rude, but
no.
I have to defend doctors because they don't fucking know about androgens because they're busy with taking care of people.
Yeah.
You're a smart biochemistry guy that's been in the streets selling steroids, and you're one of these genius guys. But I'm going to be tough on you. I told you I was going to be tough on you. You're selling steroids.
Yeah.
You're getting. I'm interested. You became the number 1 fucking steroid guy with the money. Let's talk about the business of the money.
Yeah. I just have a small business. I'm not making a lot of money. It's a small city. I'm not making a lot of money, but I'm just barely getting by. And one day, one of my clients told me about this online forum where people were selling steroids online.
What year? What year?
This was 2011.
Okay.
So the time period is important because at the time period, it's different than it is now. Now there's UGLs all over the place.
Right.
It's easy. It's very easy to get things now. This is right in the very beginning of the UGL. Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is right in the beginning of the UGL time. So the time period is important, and so I go to this online forum, and it was one of the largest in the world. It has a million monthly unique hits. It's one of the most trafficked forums in the world. So I'm looking at this, and I start doing some research, and I realize that I have some pretty good connections. I have some pretty good supply chains, and I can compete with the people on here. And I was just hoping for $200 to $300 extra dollars a week. It was an arduous process to get on there. I had to, of course, I had to get a server that was out of the country. So if there is the FBI or the DEA does want to come in, that they won't have the jurisdiction to access the servers.
Wow.
Right? So I had to do a bunch of things like this. I simply slightly undercut everybody in the market. I had the best customer service. Like at the time, the customer service for all these other steroid dealers was terrible. I had great customer service. Come on. So at the time, people were just sending everything snail mail. They were taking 2 weeks even within the United States. So I just paid for priority shipping for everybody and got everybody their products in 2 or 3 days, and that was huge. And that's, again, now everybody does that, but then nobody did it. So within probably 6 months, I was making like $250 to $300 a week is all I was making. Within 6 months, I was making $30,000 a week. What was coming in?
Let's face it, you're the Amazon of steroids. I mean, that's just what this is.
In the beginning, it just went that way. So this forum also has they have a rating system, right? So the number one dealer, and then they have it all the way down. I shot up to number 3 in the world, not just the United States, in the world at one point while I was there. So by the end, we were pulling in like $200,000 a week.
Hold on. $100,000 or $200,000. So $500,000 a month.
Yeah,
$500,000 a month.
Yeah, we're making million. Yeah. By the end,
millions.
I had to build I built this empire throughout the entire United States.
How do you spend the money? I don't know any of this stuff. How do you, when you have all that cash, or not cash, right? Is it in crypto? There was no crypto. Where's the money?
It wasn't big at the time. So again, that wasn't all my money.
Where does the money go, though? Where does the money? I'm interested. Where to the bank? Where's the money? Where's the bank?
I had a ton of employees, so I didn't get it all, but extravagant.
So then you have to do money laundering, like all the other guys. You have to go into money laundering stuff, right?
I didn't do any money laundering. Ironically, I got charged for money laundering, but I didn't actually do any money laundering.
Well, how do you say you're making an income of $10 million a year or more, 5 million, what is it, $7 million a year?
Yeah. At times, again, it was smaller and then grew to that.
I'm not an accountant. Okay, so how many years did it take until how'd the feds get you?
So what I did is I compartmentalized the operation, right? So I opened up shipping units throughout the United States. I had like four or five of those. I had chemistry operations throughout the United States, all separated, and nobody was supposed to know about each other. So that if one aspect got busted, then it wouldn't take down the whole operation, right? So it was all compartmentalized. And but one time, one of my shippers was somebody that was a personal assistant of mine. And they wanted to make the move to be the shipper because the shipper made a lot more money, right? So this person who moved kind of had caught wind of the rest of my operation. They knew some names. So this person actually, a shipment broke in the mail, like a big shipment, because I used to have chemists in one state like wrap everything up and ship it to a shipper in another state. And again, nobody knew each other, so they wouldn't be able to.
Was it raw ingredients or was it the finished products?
It was the finished products.
Okay.
So one of the vials, or a few of the vials, broke in one of the packages, which we really secured it well. So they must have really destroyed this package. But it leaked through, and then when there's a leak through, the post office is allowed to open it to make sure it's nothing hazardous, right? So when they open this, then they go, and that was a mistake I made, is I had them send it directly to the shipper. In the future, I fixed this. I had the chemist ship to a receiving house, which otherwise was empty and nothing else was in there, right? And then the receiving house brings it to the shipper, right? Anyways.
What was your most common top 5 steroids popularity?
That's a great question. Testosterone, enanthate was probably one. Tren was way up there. Anavar. It's like a Sustanon. I had a Test 400 that I made too.
Wow. Okay, thank you. Wow.
A lot of those were the most popular. Yeah. So then the DEA actually went to this shipper's house. They found some shipping stuff in there, and they arrested this person. Well, this person eventually just blew everything in.
What year?
That was probably 2013.
But 11, 12, 13, so 2 years. Okay.
Well, but I kept going after that because there was actually 2 people who were at that house. Both of them got arrested. One of them just didn't say anything. The other one blew everything in, right? So the one person, I got them a lawyer, and we were in contact, and the lawyer, it didn't look like the feds were going to pick it up. It wasn't quite enough that even though they confiscated probably $30,000 worth of steroids. And so eventually we just said, okay, that was an isolated case. Let's all get, and all the rest of the guys were like, hey, let's keep going again. That's going to stay in New York. So let's just keep going. So,
wow.
And at the time I had moved out. So it was isolated to New York. We just didn't operate in New York anymore, and kept going. So we went, until 2015 is when it took them 2 more years to catch me. 2015, they finally had enough information to indict, and then they indicted all of us across the United States.
What, 2015? All right.
Yeah,
Wow.
Operation
What
Cyber Juice.
Operation what?
Operation Cyber Juice. That was the name of
Wow.
the federal operation to take down some of these.
How many years in prison, sir?
My sentence was 78 months or 6.5 years. I did a little over 4 years.
So let's talk about, this is fascinating. Thank you so much for being so open about, people need to hear this stuff. It just needs to be told. I know you know that, and you're, one of the historians. I mean, this is just history. We have to get the stuff out there. Now that let's go into the next pieces, which is the science. Because I want to have a very good interview with you. So you're a very smart man.
Thank you.
You have a degree in biochemistry, right? 4-year degree in biochemistry.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's talk about, I think it's interesting for guys to understand something that you and I have talked about called this is testosterone, guys, science of diagnosing and managing men on androgens, testosterone. This is not steroids. Now we're going to go into traditional TRT that endocrinology doctors are part of traditionally, urology doctors, primary care, and then all those anti-aging testosterone places that are out there, especially now. There's how do you diagnose a man on testosterone, not to mention after diagnosis management using lab tests. Now, tell us about the free testosterone hormone hypothesis.
Yeah. Okay, sure. So the free hormone hypothesis was developed from studies that were done from the 1950s to the 1980s. So it established, and this was espoused by the Endocrine Society and by extension the rest of the medical community, because the Endocrine Society deals with hormones. So this is the paradigm under which the medical community understood hormones, and especially testosterone, in our context, testosterone. The free hormone hypothesis states that testosterone binds to SHBG, albumin. SHBG and albumin, but it's only the free hormone that is bioavailable and bioactive. So that's what really matters.
Into the central nervous system.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah. So that's all that matters, and that's the metric that you pay attention to.
Guys, I'm showing off guys like this because the world needs to know what's going on. And he's paid his piper. He's not. I'm going to be. I get very uncensored, and I know you guys like that, and I'm going to be very direct. He's not a child molester. He's a good man. Otherwise, he made big mistakes, and he paid his piper, paid the dues, and he's here, and he has a lot to offer. So the biochemistry is important. So we never want to disparage traditional medical physicians, because especially this day and age when everyone else is getting rich and famous on fucking YouTube and boom, 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 boom. And physicians and healthcare providers, they're working their asses off. They're burned out and exhausted, and they don't have time to put on a YouTube channel. And obviously everyone knows that up until recently, I was a full-time doctor. Now I'm part-time doctor because I have my practice with my patients, but I don't accept new patients. Certainly not like I used to. It would be very rare. And I'm moving into this media field because I need to do it after all the time to learn. And this is my app. I'm exposing my app to help men all over the world on androgens. You're a man, you're on androgens, right? The whole time since 23,
yes.
Right? So you've been on for over 20 years. Let me ask you this. How's your health?
Good. Yeah. And so, all right. So one of the first things I want to say is something I forgot to say earlier is I did go through all this, and you're right. There was, there's, I tell you that whole story just to tell you that this is more of a story of redemption. I want to take the experience that I gained in the unregulated market, and I want to use it to help people safely and healthfully. Now I want to do everything legally and legitimately now, and I want to be safe and healthy about it. And that's especially where you come in, and commend you for all everything you do to help people be safe.
So I don't want to be. I'm known to be all over the board, but I had to ask you about your health. That was this is not scripted. This is not scripted. We're not going to edit this like someone fake. So, sir, back to the sex hormone binding globulin. So it's very interesting, guys. When a man is diagnosed with hypogonadism that's natural, you're going to do a history. How do you feel? How's your sex? How's your energy? What do you have? Cardiometabolic disease, depression? Have you used anabolic steroids, corticosteroids? Have you been exposed to prednisone for a prolonged period? Psychiatric disease, antidepressants, boom, boom, boom. And then that's a history. And then you, of course, do a physical exam and vital signs. And then you look at the labs. And you're going to do the testosterone test, which is a liquid chromatography mass spectroscopy with total and free testosterone, free LH and FSH to localize the lesion to see if it's the hypothalamus pituitary gonad axis. Is it primary failure? Is it secondary? That is so archaic and cringy. It's not archaic. It's needed, but when you do the history tells you everything. But this is academic endocrinology, andrology, and but the anti-aging doctors are cringy that they don't know any of it. It's just they give anyone testosterone, and I'm going to let that. I have to just say that it's not that it doesn't help them, but is it balanced? And not balance my hormones with fucking estrogen. Are they balancing against the disease of what it could cause, of the vector forces on the heart, prostate, hair, gyno, mental health, and then you can destroy your life because you're bipolar and now you're fucking manic, and you're going to have so many girlfriends you're going to want to blow your head off, which I've seen by at least one man from what testosterone did to him. It changed him. Everything else physically was fine. He was all over the blood pressure and the fucking heart and all the boom. But he did change his personality, and he left his wife and his family to satisfy his libido, and it's true, guys, and it's a good problem. It's a problem you got, right? It's a good problem you got, right, guys? And then you destroy your fucking life because of decisions you've made, risky decisions you never would have made. No one's going to tell it to you like me. No one. And that's you may not know that because you're not a clinician. So, and that's going to be roid rage and control yourself. But the truth, it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? You need to tell that to people. So, okay. So getting back into the sexual binding globulin and the free testosterone, I look at it more like the free testosterone is king, because in my opinion, it goes through outside the capillary into the extracellular matrix, transiently into a phospholipid bilayer, which is a cell, any cell, central nervous system, muscle, skeletal muscle, prostate, heart. You're telling me that the sexually binding globulin complex, that large, I'm not a biochemist, with that complex can get through into the target tissue and have an effect.
Yes. Yes, it can, and through multiple processes.
Right.
So, okay. So I guess first, SHBG is defined as a transport protein, right? And one of the issues with the free hormone hypothesis is that it ignores SHBG bound testosterone. The implication being that it's just that nothing happens with that.
It's a carrier, just a carrier.
But it is a transport protein. As you know, testosterone in the males is produced in the testes, and it has to be transported from there to the brain cells, to all the muscle cells. It has to be transported, right, to be utilized, right. So, and that's one of the functions of SHBG. So, right there, that's telling you that SHBG is important to transport testosterone. Now, what is not well known, there are studies out there that show this, but what I've never seen really broken down in an analytic, cogent manner is SHBG, what it really is. It's a homodimeric protein made up of two, which means it's made up of two identical subunits, right? Each unit binds a testosterone molecule. So another problem with the free hormone hypothesis is it assumes a one-to-one binding stoichiometry, or that one testosterone molecule binds to one SHBG. Now we know that SHBG binds two testosterone molecules. So now there's three different potential ways that a cell can utilize SHBG. One of those is what you said. So it can be SHBG can bind to a cell mediated by a protein called megalin, right? Binds to megalin. Then through an endocytic process, it's brought into the cell, taken in by a lysosome. There's a very acidic environment in a lysosome. It's supposed to destroy cells. In that acidic environment, testosterone dissociates from SHBG. Then the testosterone can then go and bind to the androgen receptors. Okay?
Wow. I don't know any. I mean, I'm not a biochemist. Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys are liking this. Guys are liking this.
Yeah. So that's one way SHBG bound testosterone is used. Another way is that it can. All right. So SHBG can bind to the outside of a cell, so the phospholipid bilayer of a cell. Then the testosterone molecule then binds to the SHBG. Then through a G-coupled protein, it can increase the production of CAMP, cyclic adenosine monophosphate, and PKA, protein kinase A, right? So protein kinase A can phosphorylate an androgen receptor, which means that it stabilizes the coactivators so that there's faster regeneration of the androgen receptor, which means a higher frequency of androgen receptors. It also can increase the binding affinity of testosterone to the androgen receptor, right? So both of these things function to increase androgen sensitivity, right? So now testosterone
inside the cell, inside that target cell.
Yes, yes, okay. Inside and yes.
All right, so that's enough. I think that's enough of the bro science stuff. I want to keep because guys, but we're going to have more stuff with this guy, maybe on the whiteboard together because it is super cool, and you got to understand the science, and then you could work backwards into the clinical. Where, in the end of the day, if you take too much testosterone, I don't care if it's the total and the free, you're going to have side effects from hair loss, mood disorder, puffiness, acne, gynecomastia, heart disease, prostate disease, kidney disease, and the last is my D, deposition, which is androgen-induced erythrocytosis. I mean, guys, if you like the science, here you are today on this. So, but that's why it's like, my opinion in the end is once you get through a diagnosis, which is very interesting for the total and the free and the sexually binding globulin, and we've talked about that, and looking at that, making a clinical diagnosis to go on or to try testosterone, and then telling a man the truth, and maybe there's a contraindication for why that guy shouldn't be on testosterone. Like if he's 60 something or 50 and he has overt prostate cancer right in front of you, that's going to be, and I'm not going to go into the whole androgen relationships and testosterone saturation models and all this, because this is my day job. That's urology. I respect those guys. Anyone that's going to give a man, I see this from time to time from the anti-aging guys, they haven't done a good history. The PSA is elevated. He actually had prostate cancer, and the freaking doctor has provided the guy testosterone, and the PSA is climbing. That is a fucking lawsuit just sitting there, and it's just sad and cringy. And it's pretty rare, because any doctor, any clinic, any nurse, any technician, any fool can look at a PSA and say it's over 4. I mean, I'm going to give testosterone to that guy. That's a fool. Contraindication. Well, it's you go see a urologist and let's get a blood. Let's see what the urologist. Okay. So again, this is such common sense to me, but I don't. You got to be careful with people. So let's move on. Go ahead. Sorry, Ryan.
So no, I was just going to say. Based on what you're talking about, this is completely beside the point, but based on what you're talking about, there's also some evidence that some prostate cancers may be caused by low androgen.
No, but I agree, sir. I agree. I'm an internal medicine. I'm a testosteronologist. I'm not a urologist. You have to understand the limitations when you're a physician or a provider, because they're not physicians anymore, which it is what it is. With history of good clinical history. You don't need to be an endocrinologist. They're busy with diabetes. I'm not a diabetes expert. So you can't do it all. I'm a testosteronologist because I'm an internist, and all I do is take care of men on testosterone. Done. So, and I've been doing it 20 fucking years. And I'm humble that I don't know everything, but I spend so much time with my patients. Number one, I don't even give testosterone to guys. it's very rare that they're new. Most guys come to me because they're on testosterone and their clinic sucks. Mm-hmm. Okay, or their doctor is like, I don't want to take testosterone every 2 weeks. Yeah. Can you please help me, doc? Or my blood pressure needs to be really looked at, or my heart needs, or you don't feel so good, doc. So this is all I do. So, but in the end of the day, if when you look at the prostate, I'm really just a traffic cop. That's why I made this for you guys, the app. So I'm a traffic cop. I know what's not risky versus risky clinically. I know at 20, and if I don't know, I transition that patient, chaperone to a cardiologist, psychiatrist, hematologist, maybe endocrine guy, endocrine, nephrology for the kidney. This is the common stuff. And then you better believe it, urologist. If the PSA, I don't like it, or I don't like the prostate, or I don't like the urinary tract symptoms, how could everyone? This is a full-time job. Mm-hmm. But then you have to know, number one, does this patient need to be going to a higher level of care to see a specialist for that medical problem? Or are they fine with you today? No one does it like me because they can't.
Yeah.
They can't.
Yeah.
And because you have to know when to use your specialist. All right, let's close with this because I want to keep it down, but we're a little bit long. Responding to freaking steroids. Let's close on that. This is a biochemistry stuff. Now, so this is the classic. For you guys who know this, sit tight. For the guys who don't know this, if you think you're going to give any man just a gram of testosterone, maybe 2 grams, go for 3. Go for 3 grams of testosterone. Go for a gram of tren. Go for growth. Go for IGF. Go for everything you could fit in the needle and anything you could afford. That's going to cost a lot. Mm-hmm. And take it, and you're going to go, yep, I'm going to the gym, and I'm going to look just like Ronnie Coleman. Yeah. Tell us what's going on, sir.
Yeah, everybody can't look like Ronnie Coleman. It's there's many genetic factors. So one way I like to describe it is a scientist did a study on Sean Bradley. I don't know if you remember Sean Bradley. He played for the 76ers. He was really, really, really tall. He was like 7'6", and he had average height parents. So the scientists were interested. Why are you so tall? How did this happen? So they did a genetic breakdown of what constitutes height. And it came up with about 20,000 genes that were involved in determining someone's height. And if someone hits the lottery and thousands of these genes add up correctly, then they can be very tall, right? So it's a kind of a genetic lottery in a sense. Right. So it's the same thing with how your body responds to testosterone. Now we look at just a few, right? Some of the clinics only look at total testosterone, free testosterone. Right. Some of the better ones start looking at SHBG and some things. You are are the best, and you look at so many different factors, right? But there's still probably thousands of factors that we don't even know about that
absolutely,
that really determine how we respond to testosterone, right? So one of those is the testosterone in your blood is only a portion of the equation. The other side of the equation is somewhere in there is androgen receptors. How does testosterone bind to androgen receptors? How does that cascade
on the skeletal muscle?
Right. Or even in the brain too, right? For dopamine production and dopamine receptor production.
Right.
So how does that work? So we have, our DNA blueprint is different for everybody. I think everybody knows that. And if our DNA was the same, then everybody would look the same, right? So the DNA for the androgen receptor is no different. Right? There's variability within the coding for the androgen receptor. And differences in this androgen receptor can lead to a wide array of different different androgen sensitivity, right? You can go from complete androgen insensitivity to all the way to, there's even some mutations that cause higher androgen sensitivity than normal. And that's actually involved in some of the prostate cancers.
Right.
So like complete androgen sensitivity is interesting. You can have an XY male, right, that has complete androgen sensitivity from birth, and they'll actually develop breast tissue, of vagina, and working ovaries.
Right. No, I know.
A classic example of this is actress Sigourney Weaver, right? She's an XY female, but she's got XY chromosome. So that's complete androgen insensitivity, right? Where our androgen receptors don't receive any androgens. And you can have everything in between, every little variation in between, to partial androgen insensitivity where the male genitalia doesn't develop properly.
Right.
All the way to just low androgen sensitivity.
Well, hermaphrodites and stuff fall into this line.
Yeah. So everything in between, right? So,
right.
So, some people have just low androgen sensitivity where they may need a little more testosterone than your average person to feel normal. Again, there are some mutations that increase the androgen sensitivity, and these are, and especially increase the amount of androgen receptors, the frequency of androgen receptors you have. The CAG repeats, as you know, at the end of exon 1 of the code for the androgen receptor, determines the frequency of the androgen receptors you have. Somebody with a lot of androgen receptors is just more sensitive to androgens than somebody who doesn't have as many androgen receptors. But it also has to do with that and the binding affinity of testosterone to the androgen receptor, right? All these.
But it down-regulates. But as you do steroids, men do steroids, they've come to me over the years, doctor. I used to respond. To to a little test. Let's there's tolerance, and there's all these, and then so that's why steroid users historically have stacked and have used different steroids together for desired. This is fascinating science as we move into the future, of course, with harm reduction, understanding the androgen receptor. People don't really think about that. That's the polymorphism across the board that is amazing. And this is why anabolic steroid users, that of course the sad piece is they suffer the consequences because they love the response, and they're using super physiologic doses and polypharmacy with multiple, and then they come off, and then the receptor cleaners, with the antihistamines, I got to polish up. That's a whole nother topic for some time. Guys are coming off. Doc, why am I? Actually, some men will have come to me. This is neuromuscular pathology, right? That I am not a neurologist. So they come to me. They go, Doc, I'm weaker. I'm doing steroids, even more steroids, Tren and equipoise and Debo, and I'm having a paradoxic response. And I've sent them to neuromuscular, and they do biopsies, vastus lateralis. I guess they're going to biopsy and see. Do they have an error? Are they breaking their muscle down? Is that skeletal muscle enzymatically? There are diseases, McCardle's. I'm just going to rip off that one. There are inborn errors that are more congenital that you see at birth and through childhood, and they manifest that. But then there is a paradox of anabolic steroid-induced skeletal myopathy. I swear to you, it's very rare. So the more steroids you take, we know that you could pop a tendon because the muscles get so strong that if you're so strong, you're just going to tear off that. I've torn massive. I've had a bicep tear, pec tear, hamstring tear from the mountain bike, and there it is, the Popeye. You didn't have it fixed. You never got that fixed.
I got it fixed too late.
Yeah, so they couldn't bring the tendon out. So distal bicep tendon rupture. This is this world. So I've had it too. But I fixed it within 10 days, and it's perfect. So in the end, so the effects on the skeletal muscle apparatus and the tendinous. I'm not an orthopedic surgeon. I don't even play one on TV. So these guys are so smart and so needed. But steroids accelerate injury to the skeletal muscle tendons, 100% guaranteed, because we think because of the disproportional growth, the muscles get so strong, the attachments onto the bone, the lever arm is just disproportionate, and then you get older, and then there's oxidation, and then you tear. Things tear. This is bodybuilders, powerlifters. This is the bane. This is albatross on our neck. So, but in the end, how about where the skeletal muscle itself is starting to collapse and to implode and to degenerate? That's rare. But when you see these older bodybuilders that are cachectic, I think it's a multifactorial issue where they're wasted and cachectic. It's because their organs, the kidneys are bad now, at least chronic kidney disease. Hearts are destroyed to different degrees. They're older, and I know they're not taking the calories in, guys, and they don't want but they look just cachectic and wasted because the neuromuscular side. I've talked to the neuromuscular experts. They've said that you've just damaged the muscle tissue from stimulation, and not to mention the training and the oxidation and the calories. It's just at a certain point, it's got a half-life. It's just going to be deteriorated. This is fascinating science for people as you get older to maintain strength and functionality by using androgens. Okay. I think we're going to close on that, brother, because we can go on and on. I want people to really watch this full thing, but this is packed. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, doctor. Thank you for everything that you do.
You're an absolute sweetheart. And again, I know I can be abusive, guys, and I just want to keep him on point, me on point, and I want to make this a super cool. And for all you fucking haters, you can just keep hating, brothers. Yeah. So I'll see you later. We're going to do more with this guy. Thank you so much, Ryan.
Okay.